This is the hamstring matrix. Now the matrix, if you are not familiar with the word, refers to the fact that we're going to do a series of movements in three-dimensional space. There'll be forward and backward action, side to side or lateral action, as well as rotational motion. So those three dimensions are going to be played upon on the hamstring, trying to experience lengthening and loading through the hamstring forward and backward, as well as how the tissue lengthens and loads on a lateral perspective and rotationally. So we're going to give the muscle an entire experience in all three dimensions. Now, you could use a wall or maybe even in a door frame would be a good idea for this movement, because trying to do this without holding on at times may cause the muscles in your body to actually contract so that you don't fall down. And what we're trying to do is somewhat relax and open up the tissue. So it's almost counterproductive to try and really balance yourself without holding on. Simply by touching the wall and adding that little bit of stability will allow the central nervous system to understand, okay, I'm not falling over, I can relax just a little bit more. So you can have your heel on the ground for this particular motion, or you can elevate it by using a chair or a box or a workout bench, depending upon where you are. Now, the leg that is elevated is the one we'll be focusing our attention on. The foot itself wants to flex upward by bending into the ankle, not so much by pulling the toe back as far as you can, but getting some motion in the ankle. Feel how that extends the knee, straightens it, if you will. Now, in this motion, when we're walking, what happens is the leg swings forward just before we hit the ground with that heel. That takes the pelvis and actually posteriorly tilts it, causing it to go back in this direction. Now, for many times in the past, we've been told to stretch your hamstring by tilting the pelvis forward while the leg is straight. Yet that never occurs in actual gait. It never occurs when you're running, it never occurs when you're walking, it never occurs on the basketball court or for that matter the tennis court. And yet we're told to take one end where the hamstring originates from and the other end where it attaches and just drive them apart to achieve more length and more stretch. That's not necessarily what we're going to do here. We're going to get that length in the tissue and loading into it, but both points are going to travel in the same direction, only one might travel just a little bit faster, and that's where we're going to achieve that length and load. So once again, the leg is on the box, the ankle's flexed up, the knee is extending, the pelvis is subtly tilted in a back position, which will actually give us a little flexion to our spine. So we don't want to try and have a tall spine when doing this. You can actually relax into it a little bit as long as that leg is extended. Now, one arm is going to reach forward and then come back. Now, if you're feeling like you can let go of one side of the door frame, use the other hand. If you're only using a wall, you may just want to explore just what it's like to allow the torso to lean forward, maybe extending one arm. Then, you're going to take the arm and reach overhead to the side and then to the opposite side. And what's happening there is the rib cage is going to tilt toward the wall while the hips drive away, or vice versa. That is going to give us length in different areas, the hamstring. Now, if you've got shoulder issues and we're just focusing on the hamstring, by all means, don't use the arms. Just use the hips to drive back and forth. So there's a lateral component, and then rotational is simply rotating in one direction, allowing the hips to travel away from the direction you're reaching, and you're just going to go back and forth. So once again, the arm goes in one direction, the hips go in the opposite direction, whether it's forward, sideways, or rotational. These are opposing motions that will enhance how the hamstrings react to movement. So then walk around, see how that feels. Try the other leg perhaps. Now you may be more biased on one than the other. One might feel like, oh, this is easy, this is natural, I do this kind of feeling all the time almost, and the other one feels completely different. I am very restricted, I've got to take my time with it. So that might be the side you want to focus a little bit more attention on and bring both up to a more balanced point. There's nothing wrong with working a little bit more on one side than the other, because unconsciously, that's probably what you're doing day to day.